so happy to be here with you today, Julian. It's incredible to be with a filmmaker and a green consultant who's had so many different roles. It's here to teach us so much about what we can do about moving forward sustainably as we go out creating amazing things in the world. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, I'd love to get this interview started with that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, well, my name is Julian and I'm a filmmaker, I think now for over 20 years, and just recently became a green consultant because it's always nice to have different options to earn money as a freelancer. And I reckon most filmmakers agree with this, that you have your dream projects, but they rarely pay for your rent. So you need to find something else. And you look for things you can do which are close enough, but also where there's a demand. And that's how I got into green consulting. I do have to admit that my heart really lies in fictional production and directing fictional series and feature films.
So how did you get started as a filmmaker?
That's actually a funny story because I didn't really think of becoming a filmmaker when I was a kid. So my parents are teachers, and that was really far away from what I envisioned I could do. And gradually I moved towards art. So first I thought I'd become an engineer, then I didn't want to do this. An architect didn't want to do this. Then it was like industrial designer, which I actually studied, and I have a diploma as industrial designer, but I really didn't want to do this. My hobby was special effects makeup. Like I just collected old makeup from my mom, and everyone made themselves like really pretty, and I did the opposite. So I like zombies and monsters. And then I met someone who did a C-grade zombie film, and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. So I can actually put my makeup to use. And that's really how I started. That was my first introduction to filmmaking, and I really liked it. The combination of working with people, being creative, creating something in a sort of bubble which exists for a time, and then you get out of it and you have something. It might be good, might be not so good, but anyway, you created something, and that kind of became my thing in a way.
I love that. I love that idea of creating something that only lasts for a certain amount of time in a certain space. And I'll just paraphrase, it seems like amongst a special group of people, right? Like we all have this thing that we're working on. So when you first started, how did you see kind of like filmmaking going for you? Did you think you'd be doing it full time? Did you have a certain idea of how you wanted things to go? What was that like for you?
I didn't really envisioned my career as filmmaker as such. I think I wanted to be in the filmmaking world. At some point I realized that, but the process was rather what I didn't want to do. And then that was what defined what I wanted to do. For example, I didn't really do well in employed jobs. So like I usually felt someone is wasting my lifetime, which I found very depressing. Maybe I just didn't find the right job, but that led to me being a freelancer, which I found a lot more fulfilling in a way. And from my studies and everything, I rather came from the graphics side, did some graphical work, some jobs here and there. And then at some point I realized, actually I went to Asia because everyone here in Europe goes to the United States or to North America to pursue their filmmaking career. So I thought I'd go the other way. And then, but nobody came and offered me a job. So nobody came and said, oh, well, here's the golden platter and here's your job. So I thought, okay, I do it myself. And I produced a short film, which I directed, and it's okay. It's not brilliant. But the first day of shooting and directing it, that's when I knew this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I think, where do I want to go with this? Well, I want to make films which entertain, and I want to make a living out of these films so I can do what I like. I want to tell stories, and if I can't tell stories for a while, then I'm unhappy. So I start kind of fiddling around, finding something where I can put my creative juices. And so I rather need projects, I think, to be happy. And I think that means for me being an artist. So it's kind of something inside yourself you need to let out, which doesn't say anything about the quality, but you need to do something with it just because you're unhappy if you don't.
And so where might this kind of start for you? Just wondering, what are some of the television shows or films that you watched when you were younger that may have gotten you excited about being in this world?
Well, one I remember was The Fall Guy. So that came one episode a week. And like that was very important to watch it. And then there was a TV show, like a cartoon, or like I think it was a manga, maybe even Captain Future. Not sure if that was just here in Germany or somewhere else. And then everyone, when I became a teenager, everyone watched the A-Team. I did too.
So just wanting to now get into some of the work that you're currently embarking on, can you explain to us like what it means to conduct green consulting for production companies and what led you down this path?
Well, for one, I'm personally very interested in trying the best I can to reduce my own carbon footprint. And being a filmmaker, that wish extends also to my professional career and to my films I do. And so I'm embracing the new direction of film financiers in Germany, at least, which is mainly film funds and TV stations, to come up with a plan to make productions greener and put some label in place, which you need to have. It's called Green Motion in Germany. And it's like 21 must-haves, of which you need 18, and then you have the label. And that nobody knows exactly how this works out yet because it's so new. But I guess ultimately it might mean that you get not all the money, like all the funding you need, or like in the end, they just kind of hold back a bit if you can't fulfill this. But productions are so different, so it's still kind of all in the making. So nobody really knows what is kind of like, what problem are you getting if you're not managing to fulfill 18 of those 21 rules. Yeah, first of all, I really like that. And the second reason is that there's a demand, and I just thought, okay, there's something I'm interested in, which can open up a new possibility of earning some money as freelance. And being a consultant doesn't seem too bad. I mean, like you're not the producer. You don't have to you really be there all the time, but still kind of like you have the set atmosphere and everything. So if you're on set, I mean, there's also productions like documentaries where you just come in really as consultant, you just talk to people and you learn about their projects, which I think is very interesting too.
What are some of the surprising things that you've learned about the world of TV and film production since beginning this consulting work?
That's actually not easy to answer. I think it's not so much what I learned about the TV and film production world in itself. It's more like what I find surprising is that there is some green option available almost for everything we use on set. And I didn't know that, but if you start digging, you find a lot of options to reduce your waste, to be more green, but that requires time to do the research. It doesn't really require money in the end. Like some of the projects are even cheaper, but
oh, wow, that's
you
surprising.
need to know they exist.
What are some of the different attitudes toward going green among TV and film production companies?
Obviously, that really ties back into the own agenda, or like the personal agenda and belief of whoever is running the production company. So you have people embracing it and trying the best they can, trying to find new ways of dealing with things. But you also have people who are very happy with the way things are running and they don't want to change it, and they see it as a threat. Like they see it as the government forcing them to spend more money for rules they do not support or might not support or find stupid. So like the usual thing is, yeah, well, obviously we want to go green, but these rules are simply silly, stupid, and besides the point. So which they might be, but you have to start somewhere. So it's right. I think a stupid it's an excuse to not become active and make your production greener if you just kind of say, well, these rules are not working.
It's kind of like an excuse for an inaction. Yeah, just
Yeah.
okay, got it. Can you give us 3 reasons why every creator should plan to go green in 2023?
I think for starters, there is no planet B.
Yeah.
And then you or all of us want an audience, and I think the future audience demands it. So if they want to watch it, they need a planet, they need an environment where they can watch it. And I think specifically young people are a lot more aware and a lot more open to things, and they might just kind of not go and watch TV shows and films which have a huge carbon footprint at some point. And I would say reason number 3 is because it can be fun.
I believe so too. And I know from our conversations, it seems like it's really rewarding as well. And that kind of leads us into the next one. What are 3 tips you can share with filmmakers looking to decrease their impact on the environment?
Well, since a lot of the carbon footprint comes from transport, most of it actually, meaning the means of transport, that there is transport unit move in the first place, and from all the hotel stays, I think first really think about the production you are doing and think about, is it necessary that I move, or can I find something closer by? Can I find even something where everyone can stay at home, like where crew is available so they don't have to fly in? If you have to shoot somewhere else, can I go with a core crew and just hire local folks like to do the rest? So this is in terms of transport. And number 2, if you do have to travel, think about alternative ways of traveling. So like going by plane is the worst. And I think a lot of shorter distances might be, you might be able to find good train connections, which is specifically true for Europe. I'm not sure, like in the United States, the distances are further broad, like it's bigger distances, so it might not be as feasible. But then on the ground also, I think look for cars, vehicles with a carbon reduced footprint, like electric or CNG, stuff like that, that might actually already do a lot. And then catering is the next bigger thing. So whenever you can have veggie, local food, or organic food, that's actually also reducing your carbon footprint a lot.
What's your favorite part of doing this very necessary work?
Meeting people I wouldn't meet otherwise, hearing their stories.
Love that. And what is the most challenging aspect?
Convincing people if they really like the status quo.
But I'd love to know, what's one piece of advice that you would give to a creator who's just starting out?
I think there is a time where you really need to take action and stop thinking. I mean, be prepared. And I'm not saying like shorten your pre-production. What I'm saying is like, just do it. Like there's never the really right time to make a film.
What's a dream project or a dream collaboration that you have in mind?
I think that would be shooting a series or feature film with a fantastic element in Europe, because it's really hard. European TV stations and producers usually are afraid of touching these subjects because there's plenty from North America, and they are afraid that basically it can't compete and therefore will not return the investment.
What trends popping up within your field are catching your eye?
That would be LED walls. So I would love to shoot in a volume.
Cool. When and where is your ideal time and place to create?
Wherever it hits you. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, great. And how do you define success? And how has that definition of success changed over time?
I think that definitely changed. So when I started out, like I think you mistake success for fame, and then fame might not be coming in the scale you envisioned it, but it's not important. I think I sometimes look at my bank account and I don't think I'm a successful filmmaker, but I know that a lot of filmmakers look at me and say, well, you are a successful filmmaker. So I think being able to afford to make a living and still work as what you love, doing what you love, and working with people you really like and find inspiring, that is success. If you then find an audience who appreciates what you do, that's ultimate success.
I love that. Does creating help you in other parts of your life? Does it help you connect with people better, make you a stronger communicator, or any of those kinds of things? Do you feel like just being creative is an outlet and supportive in other places?
Definitely. I'm on a jury for emerging talents, like in my local film fund. And it was kind of funny because there was one project which is some sort of love story to being introverted. And first, I really didn't like it. And I think I really didn't like it because ultimately I needed to admit to myself that I'm actually an introvert. Like, I don't like to talk to people. So I think, like, if I wouldn't create, I might not talk to people. So yes, I really like that, because ultimately, obviously, I also want to talk to people and I like being around people, but having the purpose of a project gives you something to avoid small talk, because there's something real to talk about, which I prefer a lot.
I agree with you. What's a technique or a method that you have found most useful in your work?
Juggling multiple things at once.
That just sounds like the work in general.
That sounds like everything, I think.
What TV shows or films have you watched lately that have gotten you excited?
1899. If you don't know, that is like the from the creators of Dark, which is, I think, one of the first German TV shows which kind of traveled abroad in German language. It starts off as a thriller and then turns into a fantasy sort of thing. I find them very inspiring. So they just shot like 1899 in a volume here in Berlin, actually. So I watched Wednesday and thought, like, I enjoyed it, actually. Asking myself why this little teen thing is so much fun. But I think because they take all the stereotypes and twist them slightly and turn them around, it's actually enjoyable.
I haven't seen Wednesday just yet, but it's definitely on my watch list. So
You
many
should.
folks have said like great things about it. Yeah. And how can folks who are looking to be more sustainable in the new year connect with you?
Well, there's my personal website, which is julianeblock.com, or my production company's website, which is ravfilms.com.
Okay, cool. Name a series you've binged lately.
1899.
Name a song you can't get out of your head.
The score of my latest production.
Name a book you haven't started, but you've been meaning to.
A history of film.
Tell us the name of an artist who has inspired your work.
Kim Ji-woon.
Name the most memorable project or piece of content you've made.
My son.
I love that answer. Name the brand you've most enjoyed working with.
Lego.
Oh, cool. And then fill in the blank. I want my art to
be inspiring.
Love it. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliane. We appreciate you so much for stopping by, chatting with us, and getting us on the green foot, really, and how we can make some advancements next year in our sustainability efforts, production-wise.
If you want to, like, I also love to hear things. So if anyone, like, would want to reach out, just telling me what they did and how that was a success for them, that's also, like, that's already a success. I mean, I don't need to earn money as a consultant necessarily. So everyone who's kind of making their production just a tiny bit greener, like maybe sorting through the garbage and kind of recycling, or, like saving on plastic bottles and have bottles they can reuse instead, stuff like that. I don't know, anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to hear it.
Maybe we can challenge some of our Tongal creators to see if there are ways that they want to kind of like start making their own little efforts here and there. I'd love to see how like people pick up from this. I know myself, I've been looking around the house and trying to figure out how I can be a bit greener in here myself since the last time we spoke. So it all
there
counts.
are challenges out there which you can do, like plastic-free July or something. And like once you start it, like you really have to start thinking. So it is like an online challenge. And I did it once, and you start kind of like, oh yeah, wow, how can I actually reduce it? How can I get rid of it? The hardest is actually the sweet wrapping if you have a kid, because it's really hard to explain why you can't have the sweets because there's plastic around.
That's so great. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Okay,
Talk
brilliant.
soon.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too. Bye.
Bye.